Hello. Hi everybody, my name is Ula Hovanec and you probably know it because this video is just a helping video, the auxiliary video for the course that we had on queer women in Central and Eastern European cinema. We have discussed a selection of queer films and we discussed the issues, the LGBTQ plus issues connected to these films. And today, as the conclusion of this course, I would like to invite you to for the discussion about feminism and how feminism is connected to the queer studies, how feminism is connected to the visibility of women in general, and how the problems with feminism in Central and Eastern Europe, and I will focus today on Poland, made the contemporary backlash in politics, in cultural domain in Central and Eastern Europe possible. Because the course was in Finland, and I've been based in Finland, and because it's been going on in the Aleksanteri Institute, I drink my coffee with the Moomins image on my mug. And the Moomins were very, very popular in Poland. They still are. Well, the title of my conclusion is very pessimistic. It is called Why Feminisms Had No Chances in Eastern and Central Europe, namely in Poland. My main hypothesis is that despite very thriving development of feminist language and feminist scholarship, namely in academia in Poland, this language and this feminist and queer sensitivity did not translate into the general attitude to gender equality, the general consensus of that the world is heteronormative and that it's based on the privilege, one privileged sex, and this is why the backlash that we are still living in, the backlash of traditional circles, anti-gendered, anti-feminist backlash that is manifested every day in Central and Eastern European politics, and it can be seen over our Facebooks, Twitters, and Instagrams posts that are full of quite ridiculous, often homophobic issues. And I will talk about last 2 decades of feminist development. I will start from the 1990s and how the language, feminist language and queer language developed in Poland and what has happened, and I will try to enumerate several issues that are very important for recognizing why anti-feminist attitude is generally possible even today. I will start then from the short overview, and this video will be just a short overview of fantastic books that appeared in the late 1990s or in the beginning of 2000s, and then quite recently, but were result of previous research. Those books I chosen quite randomly from these shelves that are usually full of books on gender studies, queer studies, women's studies in Central and Eastern Europe. When I started at the late 1990s, I could probably purchase and kind of follow the tracks of every publication that is connected to these themes. Obviously now it is impossible because the field is much bigger and much popular. But let's see. Okay, so the first book which I wanted to tell you about is this book. It's Kazimierz Ślęczka, Feminism, and it's not very important, but it was very very crucial for us, for the feminist scholars at the late 1990s, because this book is just overview of what is happening in feminism from the historical point of view, and this very basic short definition of and division of various feminisms were quite important for everybody, because it gives some sort of mental map of where we now stand and what we are doing now, and so if we which feminism or which feminist trend we are trying to appropriate in Eastern Europe or in Poland. Also, one of the books which I chose for you is Piórem Niewieścim with the women's pen, and this is one of the book that is representative, the book by Ewa Kraskowska, the literary scholar from Poznań, who was using one of the most important strategies of early feminism in Eastern Europe, which we can call, after Elaine Showalter, feminist archaeology, trying to rewrite the literary history or cultural history from the feminist point of view, and show that there are a lot of writers, women, that were marginalized because the canonic literature treat usually women's writing as a secondary category. Here I just wanted to show you the book by Maria Janion, Kobiety i duch inności, Women and the Spirit of Otherness, and never translated, though it is a must. But Maria Janion is a fantastic thinker, philosopher, literary scholar who made a fantastic research on Romanticism, but also on generally Polish culture from the point of view of gender inequality. This book, Ciało I Tekst, the body and text, is like a basic information of everything that happened in literary and cultural studies in 1990s, because this book appeared in 2000, but in fact it is a collection of very serious texts from British and American scholarship on feminism, the texts that appeared previously in 1993 in the journal called Teksty Drugie in Poland, and it is this the picture of what happened in what was happening in 1990s in literary and cultural scholarship in Poland, and how the Western scholarship has been adopted. Here, Inga Iwasiów, Rewindykacje, 2002 books, and this is already the book that is symptomatic in the way of thinking that feminism has to have a little bit of a Polish, the Polish feminism has to have a Polish face. So we have to kind of address feminism address Polish issues when we deal with feminism, because this locality as lokalność, as Iwasiów says, is very important. And when we read literature, we kind of through the feminist spectrum, through the feminist perspective, we kind of have to also, being a feminist, acknowledge this locality and the specificity of being from Eastern Europe or being from post-communist country, being from Poland. Love Town is the English edition of Lubiewo by Michał Witkowski, and this probably is the first really queer novel in Polish literature. Queer and openly targeting the queer circles in small Polish towns, and that this queerness of this book brings it makes this book a milestone for queer studies in literary history, in Polish literary history, 2005, which Michał Witkowski starts. So this shows how queer feminism and queer studies developed and are popular and and the new thinking is possible. Błażej Warkowski is the Różowy Język, the Pink Tongue, and this is their selection of his essays, usually short overview of what is happening, of new publishings, of new phenomenon, or usually literary phenomenon, from very innovative queer perspective. A very good writer and very interesting scholar that picks up various problems and various paradoxes in Polish culture. Very important book. Świat bez kobiet, the book which by Agnieszka Graf, we will talk about it. It's probably the first very feminist and very angry in the good way book about the lack of visibility of women in Polish public sphere. And this book, which appears at the beginning of 2000s, even though it shows the pessimistic view, it was seen as the optimistic sign, because it was seen that to expose phenomenon is to get rid of the phenomenon. Well, obviously the women's visibility and women's role in public sphere has increased since then in Poland or Eastern Europe in general, but it doesn't mean that we don't have a problem, and the problems are very serious, and that also the contemporary backlash against feminism is quite serious. And talking about this backlash, we usually refer, and I probably told you many times during our lecture, refer to the recent wars on gender and the war against gender. And here is the book published by Krytyka Polityczna, and it's basically a guide called Gender, of the guide what gender is and how we should understand it. And this book, this little guide, has been published after this 2012, 2013, 2014 war against gender, connected to the also the Catholic circles that created the term of gender as something that would be frightening and threatening to the natural, normal division of and the normal intuition of what is women and what is men, and it started this um, backlash against feminism as the movement not for political equality, but the movement that tries to destroy the natural good Polish family. And this obviously this war has been later on connected to 2016 movement against movement for further radicalization of already radical anti-abortion law that is in power since 1993 in Poland. This radicalization led to a quite social movement, which we called now the Black Protests, and thousands of Polish women came to the street to fight against this proposal of the bill that would radicalize the law to make impossible to have an abortion even in case of rape, even in case of incestuous relationship, even in case of when the fetus or the pregnancy threatens the life of a woman who is pregnant, etc. This radicalization was basically very unfair. The bill, thanks to the Black Protest, has been withdrawn, but it shows, and it's just a few years ago, it shows that this anti-feminist and anti-gender attitude is still very, very vivid. And here I have two books that has been published recently, but this book has a new edition, a very nice edition. It's the book by Krzysztof Tomasik, which is called Gejrel, and it is about gay history in communist Poland, because communist Poland in acronym is Polish People's Republic, and in Poland is PRL. So it's a pun, it's a play of words. Gejrel, it's for Polish ear, is the gay PRL. So, and it is a history that it looks for gay history, the queer history of communist Poland. And this is very important because this is a new strategy of showing, of estimating or assessing our present, where we are, that we are not jumped out of nothing into post-communism, that it is a big, that it's one big process, and how we think about it, also why we're scared of feminism, is also a result of communism, and also the result of various communist various prejudices that are enrooted in communist time. But Krzysztof Tomasik, a very fantastic and very important book based on a serious research and serious archivic work about the time. And another book that actually shows the paradoxes of our contemporary situation and the contemporary position of feminist / queer studies is this book, Memy I Grafy. It's again Agnieszka Graf, but it's also connected with a meme artist, Marta Frey. Her memes are very, very popular, and they've been like on the face of black protests because they're very sensible. They're not very radical, but they try in the funny way to show that feminism or queer studies are very about just rational thinking and rational thinking about tolerance and openness to other people. And this book is full of various memes with um, the commentary of by Agnieszka Graf. But this book is the one of the possible strategy to, in contemporary backlash, to introduce, to explain, to make feminism go into general public, to be swallowable, not only for scholars and academics and students, but for everybody, in the funny, soft, not too radical way. But another strategy is the strategy of finding our queer, gay tradition, and also to show that it's been the queer history is not something that we invented. It's something that's always been here. It's just that it's been marginalized and silenced by the general history. So this is just the introduction, and in the next videos I will tell you a little bit about what I think it is a very important popular culture phenomenon that brought up a lot of prejudices against feminism. I will basically tell you a little bit about sexmisia. Then in the following videos I will very shortly tell you about what I think are very important mistakes of feminisms that had happened during last 2 decades, what we feminists are to blame for, and we should rethink. And the conclusion of this will be to tell you a little bit about the new 2018 film, opening lesbian film, probably the first Polish lesbian film that shows lesbian in the very positive way. And this lesbian film, Nina, I will tell you about as the possible way to create the new spheres, new platform for visibility of queer women. Okay, thank you for now, and see you in the next video.